Hello everyone, welcome to an exclusive live preview of our new WinAutomation version 7. During today's webinar, we will discover together all the new features and automation capabilities introduced with this summer release. Please note that you may submit all your questions at any time during the webinar by typing them into the questions pane of your attendee control panel on the right, and we will make sure we address them all during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So let's get started. I would like to introduce John Anastasopoulos, Head of Professional Services at Softomotive. John will guide you through all the new features and explain what has changed from version 6. So John, to you.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Hello everybody, I'm John. I would like to welcome you from my part to this webinar about the brand new version 7. We will discuss about the new additions, the new features and the new actions, and in general everything that is introduced in the new version. I would like to start by going through the new features first, the new actions then, and then we will talk about the new additions and have a little comparison about them. And last but not least, we will talk about the executables licensing scheme that can be provided by Professional Plus editions. So firstly, let's have a look at the new additions that Softomotive introduces with WinAutomation version 7. So far, as you know, up until version 6, we had 2 additions, the standard and the professional, but now we are taking it a step further and the additions from now on will be basic, which is, as the name indicates, a very basic addition that offers the very standard WinAutomation functionality. It does not have schedules, it has a number of triggers, it can support up to 5 functions. It is a very general basic addition for users who wish to perform small everyday simple tasks. Further on, we have the professional edition, which is the professional as we know it in version 6 plus all the new features of version 7 that will be discussed in detail later on. And finally, we have the Professional Plus, which is an enhanced professional edition offering more actions in the robot designer that have to do mostly with PDF-related actions, Outlook actions, command line session actions, synchronization actions. We will see them in more detail shortly. So let's start with the general new features. I'm going to open up my WinAutomation Professional Plus edition. We have, first of all, the new console feature that, as you can see in my screen, it's the Find Robot over here next to the Generate Executable. A new option in the console where one is able to search in the robots folder structure. Extremely helpful when it comes to huge databases with a large amount of robots. For anyone that has a large database and numerous robots, the Find Robot feature will be a blessing. It was a high demand feature in the past, which is now added, and if we want to see how it works, it opens up a Find Robot or folder pop-up window that I can write anything, for example, sign in, anything that has this wording within the job title or the robot title or the folder will be displayed here. By double-clicking to it, it will take me to the associated robot in the folder structure. Now moving on, we have enhanced the WinAutomation controller. New commands are now supported in the WinAutomation controller. Some of you may ask what is the WinAutomation controller. Not everybody has used it. Maybe you have this inquiry. WinAutomation controller is actually a command line executable that helps users to perform actions like start, import, export a robot, enable or disable it through the command line without having to press anything in the console. Along now with the existing ones, the existing commands that the controller supports, we have new ones. I will briefly open the command line and talk about what is new in the commands of the WinAutomation controller. So as we know already, import and export can happen through the WinAutomation controller. We can list the running robots, displays a list of all the running robots, start and stop with specifying the robot path of a specific robot. We're taking it a step further to export the server data, exports the data from the server that is stored in and being stored in a file to export the data path that the user will indicate. We have the enable and robot path, which enables the robot in the specified robot path. We have the disable option, which does similar to the enable, disables the robot. We have the get folders WinAutomation controller command, which gets all the WinAutomation folder in an XML format, and they can be displayed in the results in the file or in the console. We have the get robots folder, which too similar to the previous one, gets robots data under a specific folder in an XML format and display the results in the console or in the file. We have the get robot, which gets the robots data in an XML format and display the results in the console or a file. So the control is being quite enhanced with version 7. Moving on, I would like to take you to the robot designer and explore the new features there. As you can see, we have the control repository, which you are all familiar with, but we have added also the new images repository where one can get images, capture images and save them here. They can be captured only once and be used several times in all the image-related actions. Very useful for image-related robots that are resolution dependent. You can capture an image in different resolutions and keep looking for it. Pretty easy to use. Capture an image on your screen, give a name to it, save it. As you can see, we can zoom in to see what is the image showing, zoom out, and with any image-related action, I can now select the image from the repository as I have captured them previously. Okay, let's go to another new feature that we have introduced that has to do with reordering the selectors of a specific control in the controls repository. Introducing now the ability to specify the order of selectors in a control. If I click on any control that I have taken, for example, the sign-in link in this specific robot, you see that I have a number of CSS selectors that will try to access that element. So far the order could not be arranged, but now I can select one and move it up or move it down depending on my knowledge and how sure I am that the element will be accessed efficiently. I can go with an ID first, then I can go with another selector that I think if the first one fails to get the element, I would like to fall back to that one, to the third one, to the fourth one, and I can very easily rearrange it from the arrows shown in this small window. Also, we have two new options that have to do with adding empty controls and an empty root control and an empty child control. If we add control, we have this arrow. If we click on it, we can add an empty root control, which if I open it, it has the empty selector. Now, if I'm very familiarized with CSS selectors or UI selectors, I can come here and edit this and have my robot get any window from that control, and then once I get the window, I'm able to add child controls by right-clicking on that control that I previously created and click Add Empty Control. Can add as many as I want. Now, of course, again, the CSS or the UI selector will be empty. I can insert here my selector. Very helpful for advanced users that pretty much know about CSS and they are sure that they're going to access the elements. So far, if we wanted to create a control, what we did was getting something from another window and then come inside the control and tweak or create the CSS selector of our own. Now we can add any empty selector that we want. Of course, no screenshot will be available for this kind of controls because you haven't got them from an actual window or an actual web page. Another new option that we can see here in the Robot Designer is the remove unused controls. What it does, any controller image that is associated with an action will be removed if I press that button, saving the user a lot of time of manual deleting and assisting in keeping a very neat repository makes sense for you, for the ones that are building jobs that throughout the development you may get a lot of controls that you finally find yourself not using them. So if I click this now, it asks me if I want to remove all the unused controls, say OK, anything that is associated with an action will only be visible in the controls repository. Very similar to the one with the images repository. If I choose to remove the unused images, all the images that are not associated with an action are being removed. Of course, that would be the last step that one would do once he finishes his robot building. Another new exciting feature is to know exactly which controls corresponds to which action, which means that if I'm in this controller and I want to see where exactly it's being used, I can right-click to it and select Find Usages. Now another window pops up at the bottom of my robot designer, and here I can see the function that this specific control is being used, sign in. This is the one. And it informs me that in action number 5, populate text field on web page, there I am, is where this control is being used. Of course, it makes sense that if I copy-paste this and put it in another function as well, and again I go to Find Usages now, it informs me that it's present two functions, launch Internet Explorer and sign in, and specifies the actions that it is being used. Makes sense again that if you have a robot with many controls and you want to see exactly where that specific control is being used, in what action, it's quite handy. Moving on, I would like to show you the new exception handling that has in the action-based level of the error handling in WinAutomation. Every action can throw a number of errors that are here in the exception handling tab. As we know it so far in version 6, this is the display that the user would see. We can click on the exception and we can set the behavior that we want. If we have more than one exception, we would have to do the same for all the exceptions one by one, but from now on, from version 7 on, I can specify for all exceptions the behavior that I want my robot to have in case this action throws an exception. I can set a variable, I can run another robot from my database, I can run a function, and I can continue the robot execution with some options, either go to the next action, repeat the action itself, or go to a label that resides in the same function that this action is. So saves a lot of time when it comes to having exception handling for a lot of actions in a big robot. Finally, I would like to introduce a new feature which we're pretty excited, and myself also, copying actions from one robot to another in version 7 now also gets their associated controls with it. Copying actions from one robot to another copies the associated controls, and they're pasted in the new robot. This is a new feature that will make the user's life much easier if we wish to pass parts of robots to a new one, keeping the existing functionality. Till now, the controls needed to be captured again. So a small example, if I choose to copy this whole function to a new robot, and I choose to paste them, voila, all the controls are being passed as well, and I have no need to get them again. So I can use parts of robots and reuse them in other robots without having to build them again from scratch or getting the controls again. Moving on, let's go to the new actions that are being introduced. From the flow control, let me close this window and display all the actions on the left-hand side. In the flow control, we have the new actions to begin an exception block and end an exception block. The user can use them to set an exception handling rule for all the actions located within the block. As you can see, from action number 2 to action number 8 is the exception block. And what it means is any action that will throw an exception within that block will be captured, and I can specify a certain behavior that I want to have. This will give you solutions and exception handling options that were unimaginable so far, plus it's giving one more level of error handling. In the existing 3 levels, we had actions exception handling, now we have block exception handling, then we have robot exception handling and global exception handling. But what it is that I can set in that? If I open the begin exception, this is where I set the behavior I want to have. I can give it a name and I can set a variable. Let's say, for example, variable name error thrown. I can run a function from the ones that I have already, and I can continue the execution, but I can continue from the next action, from the one that threw the error, repeat the failed action, go to the beginning of a block again to try again to perform the actions, or go to the end of the block and have some further handling on. So a whole other level of exception handling is being introduced with the begin exception block and end exception block actions. Following this exception block, we have introduced another new action which resides in the WinAutomation Actions, the get last exception. What this action does actually is any error that was thrown before this action will be stored in this specific variable, and you will know exactly what was the last exception or the last error that you got. If you have a lot, you may want to use that kind of error to do some further error handling based on the last exception that you got. Pretty handy. Now let's go to the system group of actions and see what's new there. In the system group, we have get screen resolution of the machine and set screen resolution actions. They provide the ability to the user to get the resolution of the machine screen or set another resolution to the machine. Very helpful in cases where there are image recognition actions used which are resolution dependent. The user also has the ability to set the resolution to a wide range of available ones depending on the screen. So get screen resolution will give me back the width, the weight, the bit count, and the frequency of a specific monitor that I can specify here. And the set screen resolution, I can set on a specific monitor the width, the height, the bit count, and the frequency, or I can choose from the available resolutions that I have over here. Moving on, we're going to the database group of actions. So far, we only had one, which was execute SQL statement, and here is where we were setting the connection string of the database that we would like to access. Right now, what we have is we have an open SQL connection, a closed SQL connection, and in between, we can execute as many SQL statements as we wish. This helps in keeping the connection open, and while the connection is open, send as many SQL queries as we wish, and then once we're done, we can close the connection. It's a matter of working more efficiently and not having to open the connection every time we're executing an SQL statement. So whole brand new database actions. One step further, we're introducing here, as you know, in the system action, we do have the run DOS command, which was executing a DOS command in your system, but now we have the CMD session group of actions, which what it does, it can open a command line session, execute a number of commands with it, read the output, or wait for a specific text to appear there. This new group of actions will provide much higher level of flexibility in the command line, when so far only one command at a time could be executed. As mentioned, only the run DOS command action was available so far, which was indeed very helpful, but the CMD session group is taking the direct command line WinAutomation interaction one step ahead to perform powerful command line executions. Open a CMD session, specify the working folder, close the CMD session when done, write to a CMD session something, send enter after the command, all the while knowing that the session is open. Read from the CMD session. I can separate the output from the error and have them both stored in a variable and perform other actions based on them, or wait for a text in the CMD session. I can wait for its text. Also, regular expressions is supported here for you to take further actions based on what it is that you are expecting to see in the command line. And let's go to our beloved Excel actions. So far we know this group, but here if I click here we have a wide range of advanced Excel actions. It will give the user the ability to manipulate Excel files directly through WinAutomation and overcome any obstacle that so far we would need to use VBScript, for example, or keys sending or mouse sending to the open Excel window and using several workarounds. For example, copying cells of a spreadsheet and pasting it to another one, no matter the amount of rows, it will take an instance to paste them to the new worksheet or to another Excel spreadsheet. Not to mention that the insert or delete rows and columns are taking Excel handling a step ahead, while as for now all these actions should be and were performed by VBScript or sending keys to the active window. We can get the active Excel worksheet, get all worksheets, delete a specific worksheet, rename one of them, activate a cell, like sending the mouse to it, like activating the specific cell, select a range of cells, copy the cells, paste them, insert a row in a specific row number, delete a row, insert column, and so on and so on. I would also have to mention at this point that, for example, delete a column or insert a column, not only numbers are supported, but from this point on you can also use the letters that indicate the column. So A, B, C, up until any number that your Excel columns has. Myself is very happy for all these Excel actions, to be honest. It's taking the Excel manipulation directly through WinAutomation in another level. Now, moving on, right below we can see the Outlook actions. New actions in version 7 and available in the Professional Plus only. They will give the user the ability to manipulate emails from his Outlook account. As long as the machine has Outlook installed, of course, and email accounts are synchronized with it, WinAutomation can now interact directly with Outlook and automate your emails. The great news is that no SMTP, no IMAP settings needed here, so it's supported or not supported protocols, as we're talking directly with Outlook, and it's quite fascinating. Let's have a brief look. Launch Outlook. It will just store the Outlook instance in a variable. I can retrieve emails from the Outlook by specifying the instance in the account, which is the email that I have synchronized with my Outlook based on the pretty much known from all of you the filters that we have been using so far. I can save the attachments, send an email through Outlook by specifying again the account. The rest is the same with the email actions. Process the email messages to move them, delete them to another folder or label. Save an Outlook message to a specific format like text, message, or anything HTML, and respond to Outlook message by replying, reply to all, forward. So all the functionality of Outlook is in your hands with this small group of actions over here. And finally, of course, close the Outlook instance that you have opened in the beginning. Another new group of actions is the Synchronization Actions. New lock and unlock handle actions that will allow the user to lock a group of actions that will have to do with using a specific resource which can only serve one client at a time. Any other robots entering an already locked handle shall wait until it will be unlocked from the original robot. Let's say, for example, that you have a resource, an Excel file that is served in a shared folder on your network, and you want to read or edit it. If the Excel file is being edited by many users at the same time, I can use the synchronization actions to coordinate the resource. If any other robot attempts to enter the same handle, then if the robot is currently executing actions in the same handle, it will wait until the handle is released before resuming. This way you will have a perfect serving queuing system for any kind of resource that cannot handle more than one client. That would be a database, that could be an Excel file, that could be a desktop application that only one can send keys to, and so on and so on. So how it works, I'm locking the handle and I'm having some actions within it. The only thing that we are taking under consideration in this case is the handle name. I can write anything A, B, C, desktop application, whatever it is. For this example, I have A. If I enter here, that means that no one else is currently performing actions in the same handle. If I enter, I'm locking it. Any other robot that will have the lock handle again will have to wait up until I release it for it to resume. Another new group of actions available in the Professional Pro Plus only is the new PDF actions that will extract text or images from a PDF file from specific pages or from all of them. So far we had to use third-party tools to get the text of a PDF file and use regular expressions. Now with the new PDF actions we can talk to the PDF directly, extract images from PDF. I have to specify the file, can select if I want a range or some pages or a single page. I can give the images a name and save the images to a specific path. I can also extract the text from a PDF, specifying the file again if I want all the pages, a single one or a range of pages. And around here the new features and actions presentation is completed. I would like to take another couple of minutes to talk about the compiled executables licensing scheme that we are introducing. The generate executable feature is available in the professional edition and the professional plus edition. But let's see how it actually works. We're introducing purchasing tokens through our user area section of our WinAutomation website. There are 4 types of tokens that you can purchase to actually protect your development work and distribute your executables. We have 4 kinds of tokens, 2 for per executable and 2 for per machine. Per executable with no activation code means that I can compile an executable. I will consume 1 token on any machine that executable will run on only for the first time. From that point on, it will run as many times as you want. But I can also purchase a token per executable with an activation code, which means that 1 token will be consumed on any machine that the executable will run on, plus the activation codes will be requested upon the first run to protect the developer's work. The activation code is something that the developer will provide to the end user in case you will try to run that on another machine and the end user will distribute it without having the developer knowing to any other kind of client. Then it will request the activation code and it will not run if the activation code is not known. And then we're moving on to the per machine tokens. Again, the same scheme with no activation code, but this time we're talking about machines. Unlimited compiled robots can run on a certain machine. 1 machine consumes only 1 token, so it's like you're whitelisting a machine to run any number of compiled executables. And then, similar to the previous scheme, we have the per machine with an activation code. Unlimited robots can run on a certain machine. 1 machine consumes 1 token plus the activation code will be requested upon the first run of each compiled robot that the developer would distribute to his end users. So we have 4 schemes for you to choose in order to distribute your executables, protect your work, be able to make a profit, be able to know that what you are developing will only stay in your client's hands. Around here we complete the watch new webinar for WinAutomation version 7 from my part. I would like to make one last point and highlight the fact that WinAutomation is a desktop application to be used from 1 user on 1 machine and can be extremely beneficial to individuals and small or medium-sized companies. There is also the Enterprise Edition, the RPA that we are offering, which is Process Robot, which is a more complex as expected and supports all the WinAutomation functionality plus more features and actions like queues, credentials manager, user roles, global variables, and many more. In Process Robot, as you can see here in the slide, we have a center of excellence which consists of the control desk component for centralized management, the Process Studio for processes development, building, and the Insights dashboards for displaying KPIs. On the production side, we have the Solobots, which are independent employees, powerful use self-reliant software robots that auto-log in and operate with no supervision. And we also have sidebots, which are user-assisting software robots programmed for collaboration with the end user. All your processes automated with WinAutomation can very easily be migrated to your process robot installation and have a complete enterprise automation to boost your company and contribute to your employees' efficiency and productivity. For more information about process robot, you can always check out our website on softomotive.com and ask a demo for one of my fellow colleagues to have a good understanding on how it works, its features, and how it can help your enterprise. Thank you very much, everybody. Here we complete the presentation of the webinar.
Thank you, John. Oh, well, obviously this was a quick top-level overview of all new features since we're launching today our new release. Please note that we are introducing a monthly live webcast series where we will be able to highlight with having more time on our hands, one feature at a time. And we will ask you at the end of the webinar which feature you would like us to focus on for the first webinar in the series. Okay, so for the next few minutes, let's try and answer some questions. Let me also say that this webinar is being recorded and will be sent to all of you because a few people are asking. And I would also like to answer another question about JSON. We do have JSON handling capabilities, and let me take the opportunity, since John introduced the enterprise product we have, Process Robot. These are included among many others in our enterprise robotic process automation platform. Another question is, does WinAutomation 7 have a new feature in Excel like getting the last filtered cell? John, would you like to answer that?
Could you repeat the question, please, Debbie?
Yeah. Does WinAutomation 7 have a new feature in Excel like getting the last filtered cell?
Well, when it comes to filters, what you need to do is, I guess, is SQL rather than a direct Excel action. An SQL query would allow you to get any kind of value and even arrange them, order by them in a specific order that you wish. So for that kind of question, I would suggest to handle the Excel file as a database and apply SQL queries to it, because it will be more efficient than an Excel action that would filter the data.
Okay, thank you, John. There is another question about artificial intelligence features. So does WinAutomation have more AI features like finding similar images from a bunch?
WinAutomation itself doesn't, but as I mentioned, Process Robot, which is the Enterprise Editions, has much more features and actions where cognitive actions are included there. And yes, Process Robot has, for the time being, WinAutomation does not. If you would like to check that out, you would have to go with Process Robot, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. There is another question. I think this is an interesting one. So this is about the controls being copied along with the copying and pasting robots and pieces of robots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we covered that during the webinar. I don't know if anyone joined a bit late. What's been introduced in version 7, which was a pain, I admit. In version 6, the controls were not being passed to the new robot. Right now, if you copy any action that has a control associated with it, everything is passed to the new robot, and you can move parts of robots or whole robots, copy-pasting them to one another without having to get the controls again. So the answer is yes.
Thank you, John. Let me say again that the presentation will be available because more people are asking. We will send the recorded version. And I will ask you one final question because we are reaching the top of the time scheduled. So this is, maybe if you can explain a little bit further how the token sim works, because some people are asking. Yes.
Yes, sure. As I mentioned, we have 4 schemes. They are 2 schemes for the per executable and 2 schemes per machine. You can whitelist an executable to run, and you can whitelist a machine to run. For example, if you go with a per executable with no activation code, I'm the developer, I am using a token. Let me get back to the console that may give you a better understanding. If I purchase tokens through the user area, I will be provided with a compilation ID. Here in the general, in the options, this will be used during exe generation. So I put here my compilation ID and I go ahead and compile my robots. That compilation ID will know exactly the information about the scheme that I have purchased. For example, if I have purchased the per executable, the per machine, and so on. We have 4 schemes. Per executable with no activation code, it will be consuming 1 token on the machine that the executable will run on for the first time. If it runs on another machine and the end user decides to steal your work, if I may say, and run it on another machine, another token will be consumed by you, but the tokens you have paid. That's why we have the activation code. You can generate an executable with an activation code, and 1 token will be consumed on any machine that the executable will run on, plus it will ask for the activation code that the developer will provide to the end user and before it runs. So this is to protect the developer's work. The same scheme can happen not per executable but per machine this time, and we can whitelist machines. You can generate executables as many as you want and whitelist a specific machine to run 1, 10, 11, 100, unlimited number of executables that you have compiled using a specific compilation ID. Then we have also the activation code that can run unlimited robots as well, but this time for each compiled robot, it will request in the first run the activation code from the developer, again to protect the developer from the end user distributing his work to other users. I hope I have covered the question.
I think you did, John. Thank you so much for such a wonderful and detailed explanation and presentation. So I'm afraid our time is up. Thank you everyone for attending. Don't forget we will be starting a live webcast series, and do tell us which is the first feature you would like us to focus on once you leave the webinar. And again, once you leave the webinar, you will receive a short survey. If you could provide your feedback on how you found today's presentation and our new version, we would really appreciate it. Thanks again and have a great day.